So last part is the currency swap. So unlike the interest rate swap, currency swap involved two different currencies. So let's look at this example, a little bit more complicated actually. So firm A is the US firm. It's a multinational company who wants to finance foreign currency, say euro, in Italy, okay? And therefore they want to borrow 40 million euro for 3 years. Company A can borrow euros at 6%. So their euro interest is 6%. Firm B is the French company, French multinational company again. They want to finance dollar and they want to borrow $60 million for 3 years. They can borrow dollars at 8%. So their dollar interest rate is 8%. So based on this table, dollar interest rate A 7, B 8, euro 6 and 5. The exchange rate at its inception was 1 euro equals to 1.5, so $1.50 per euro. Now let's see the swap quote. Suppose there's a swap bank that has this quote. The 3-year swap euro bid at 5 to 5.20, so 5 to 5.2, and the dollar 7 to 7.2. Okay. Now firm A wants to finance euro asset, right? So want to borrow euro. But they can also do is now, let's look at this. So suppose the firm A borrows 60 million locally at 7% because their dollar interest rate is 7%, right? And trade this 60 million for 40 million euro as spot price, because spot price 1 euro equals to $1.50. So what I can do is they basically pay 7% and then receive $60 million. And then in Forex market, they exchange 60 million to 40 million euro. Okay. Now they can swap with swap bank. Now what they can do is, well, so they pay 5.2% euro ask price, right? And they receive the LIBOR, right? And then they also can pay LIBOR and receive US bid price. So what basically they can do is, their 7% is covered by swap bank, right? And LIBOR is cancels out because it's just a receive and pay. And the remaining part is actually 5.2%. So firm A actually do is they pay euro 5.2% interest, and they actually can get 6% interest rate for euro. It means that firm A saves 0.8% euro, right? Let's look at the firm B. Now firm B is European firms and want to get dollars, right? So firm B borrow 40 million euro at a 5% euro percentage, right? So they basically pay 5% euro and then 40 million euros. What they can do is now they exchange this 40% euro to the $60 million and then go to the swap market like this. So what they can do that, they can pay LIBOR and receive the euro bid price, and they pay fixed 7.2% ask price of dollar and then receive euro. So eventually their 5% is covered by the swap bank, right? And LIBOR cancels out, and the interest rate they pay is actually dollar interest rate 7.2%, which is great because if you look at this, if they directly borrow dollars and they borrow at 8%, it means that they can save 0.8% interest rate. What about swap bank? Suppose the notional size of the swap bank is 60 million, and they actually earned 40 basis points, which is 0.4% point, because their quote is, so look at their quote, bid ask price quote, bid ask price quote, 20 BP, 20 BP each, right? Which means that they actually make 20 BP in dollar, 20 BP in euro, which means their profit is 40 BP. And the firm A earns 80 BP basis point, 0.8%, right? And firm B also received the 0.8% point, and they actually both hedge exchange rate risk, because now they don't care about the exchange rate. They finance foreign currencies, basically, right? So which is great. It's great features, actually, if you need foreign currencies, but if you cannot borrow at a very low rate because you're a foreign firm maybe, then you borrow local currency and go to swap market, find if there is some lower the price, and then you can actually buy the swap contract with swap bank, then you can actually get better off. So there's called the QSD, which is the quality spread differential. So quality spread differential is the potential gain from swap can be shared between the counterparties in the swap bank. The gain does not have to be equal. Just QSD is calculated as the difference between the differences. So, and QSD must exist to make swap contract happen. Everyone happy. So for A can borrow $1 point, like it cheaper than B, and B can borrow euro 1% cheaper. So 2% will be basically the QSD. And because of this QSD, you can swap each other. So B can borrow cheaper in Europe. A can borrow cheaper in dollar, like in the United States. They can actually exchange it. Risk of swaps. So there's certain risk that swap contracts have. The first risk is the interest rate risk, which means that interest rate, if the interest rate move against the swap bank, then they have trouble, right? Because the interest rate keeps changing. You can simply just trade everything at once, and you start to work on that, and interest rate changes, move against basically the swap bank, then it's risky. Basis risk means that, well, there may be different basis, which means the floating rate usually quoted by the LIBOR, but sometimes TB rate may be the basis. So if two bases are different and two interest rates change differently, then you may have some risk. Exchange rate risk. If some currency appreciate or depreciate, then the swap bank can be worse off, basically, right? Credit risk. This is kind of major risk by swap dealers. So swap dealer maybe have a trouble if the counterpart, any party, do not pay. You are in trouble, right? So that's the credibility of these players are very important. Mismatch risk is very hard to find the counterparties that want to borrow the right amount of money and for the right amount of time. So it's very hard to match. Sovereign risk, because this involves in foreign exchange market, and sometimes the foreign exchange the regime changes. If the regime changes, then what happens is you may have trouble. So, such as the exchange rate restrictions or the trade restrictions, things like that, then the performance of the swap may be worse off. So how to evaluate the existing swaps? Now the swap is derivative securities, right? So the valuation is basically based on the value of underlying asset. And we have two examples here. Look at one by one. So example one, a currency swap has the remaining life of 18 months, okay? It involves exchanging interest at 14% on 20 million pounds for interest at 10% on $30 million once a year, okay? So basically they exchange once a year, 18 months left. So first trade is 6 months later, and second trade is 18 months later. The time structure of interest rate currently flat in both the US and the United Kingdom. So you don't have to worry about like the yield curve changes. If the swap were negotiated today, the interest rate exchange would be 8% for dollars and 11% for pounds. All rates were quoted with annual compounding. So it's annual payments. The current exchange rate is a pound, $1.65 per pound. What is the value of this swap in US dollars to the party paying dollars? So let's look at the timeline here. So what they basically do is so if they pay in dollars, they paying $3 million 6 months later and 18 months later, right? Okay. So you can actually get the present value of this cost. This is the cost. And because this is dollar, you have to use interest rate dollars, which is 8%. So 3 million plus 3 million, and then 1.08 half, right, 6 months later, and then 8 months later should be 1.5. That's the exponents. Get the present value, then will be negative $5,005,559. $59,669. That's the cost. That's the payment. And then you receive pounds, 2.8 million pounds in each term. So again, 2.8 million pounds, and then now our pounds is 11%. So discount rate should be 11%. Again, exponent is half, and then 1.5 because this is half year later, 1.5 years later. And you have to change in dollars because the exchange rate is dollar. This is everything is pounds, right? So we convert to dollars. Dollar is 1.65. Then the value you're gonna, the present value of your cash flow in is $8,335,659. So these differences are the swap value, $2.77599 million. So $2,775,990. So it's simple. This kind of plain vanilla swap, you basically just get a present value of each, like inflow and outflow, and then discounted by the currency's interest rate, and then add them up. That's it. What about another example? Find the dollar value today to the party paying dollars of 7-year-old swap with 3-year remaining maturity. Now we have 3-year remaining maturity, okay? The swap calls for exchange interest rate only 10 million euro at 5% and $50 million at 3%. Semi-annual payments, so every 6 months he pays, and the last payment was yesterday, so basically it's clearly just a start from today. And today's exchange rate is $1.3 per euro, and the AAA grade basically bond rate is 2% in the US, 2.5% in the Eurozone. Now let's see the example here. So first of all, what you can do is you can find the value of your payments. Now, basically you pay dollars, right? So what you can do is you basically find, first of all, you pay, so you received euro, I'm sorry, and you pay dollars. So let's find the first dollar value, I mean euro value, I'm sorry. And you basically find these present values. And number 6, because it's a 3-year bonds, right? And semi-annual, so 3 times 2 is a 6. Interest rate is 2.5%. And each payments will be, so it's a 10 million euro times 0.05, right? So that's 5% of 10 million, and that's annual, so you have to divide by 2, 250,000 euro. And future value is 0. This is a little different, because sometimes you can just say this is 10 million, which is not true, because you don't receive $10 million in the future. It's interest only swap, so you only receive these payments. Take the present value, and that will be $1,436,502 and €2.48. And now this is actually really not negative, because the present value negative here just represents the outflow of the cash flow, right? Because we believe that we just calculate like a cash flow direction basis in calculator, but in fact in calculator this negative is not really negative, right? This is just outflow, and in this case it's not even outflow at all. Actually, it's inflow. So we can just eliminate this negative sign, and this is your profit, and then 1.3 is the exchange rate, so you're going to receive $1,867,453.22 for receiving euro. And then paying dollar, basically again 6% and 2% dollar interest rate, and $225,000 because it's 3% of the $15 million annually, and then it's semi-annual payments, right? So, and then again, the future value equal to 0, same. You are not going to get 50 million because this is not really bond. This is interest only swaps. Present value, 1,303,982.21. That's the cost basically. So eventually the value of swap is these differences, $563,471.02. The final slide is about swap market efficiency. So we have this price valuation. And the beauty of swap is swap offers, say, market completeness, because if you cannot find really rational, good, competitive rate in your country or in your market, then you can actually go to other market, get a competitive price. So swap assists in tailoring finance to the type desired by a particular borrower, because every type of loan is not available. You cannot borrow everything, right? Every instruments. Some loans, some debt you cannot borrow. You are not available to buy it. So both counterparties can get benefits, and also along with the swap bank, through this financing, more suitable for their asset maturity structure. So based on their needs, I mean, the bad thing is probably they can get the cheapest loan at direct market, but if they don't have one, then and others can access that market, and you can actually have a swap contract, you can get benefit. You probably have to find the one that other bank also get benefit, but there's dealer. the swap banker actually handled that job. So that makes swap more competitive, basically. With swap contract, the market is more complete, Okay, so this is the end of the chapter 14. Thank you, and goodbye.